Hey there friends, welcome back to my crafty space. Today I'm so excited to work on some scrapbooking with you again. I have a massive process video to share with you where we're actually going to be putting together 4 different layouts in my 2023 yearbook. What is my yearbook? You might be asking yourself. This album here is a series of probably 3, maybe 4 albums that I'll be putting together this year in the 6x8 size. Inside of this book, I have 3 to 4 months worth of stories that I will be telling both in a project lifestyle documenting and in a larger story album, story projects kind of style. This will all make so much more sense once we get to the flip through, but just as an idea, basically what I'm doing in this is for every month, for every week, I am doing 1 week of project life followed by 1 to 2 deeper stories. I have also got an intro page and a gratitudes ending page that we're going to be putting together today. And then in between all of that are the rest of my project life and stories. I have most of January done. Today we're going to work on putting together the last 4 layouts that will go inside of my January pages, and then after that we're going to flip through the album so you can see what does a full month's worth of content look like inside of this album. How do the pages flow so that both my larger stories and my project lifestyle documenting can flow together in order to create this really comprehensive story of our year. So let's have me stop talking here and let's go ahead and get into the processes for today. All right, friends, let's get started with the first of the 4 layouts that we're going to work through today. This first one is really quite simple. It's just really my title page for the month of January. As I'm working through my 2023 yearbook album, my intention is to go back at the end of the month and pick out one of my favorite photos that I took that month, preferably one that includes all of our family members, but I know that may not always be possible, since we don't always take family photos with all 4 of us in the picture. Sometimes it's Aaron and the kids or me and the kids. But my hope is to every month have some kind of family photo that can serve as the introduction to the month itself. For that one, I just stuck on one of the chipboard pieces from the January Stories by the Month kit that says Hello 2023 and called that a day. Next, I'm moving on to the first of the stories that we will be working through today. This one has a very similar photo to the one that I included in the cover. It's just slightly different. The kids are a little goofier. Aaron and I are looking in different directions. For this one, I am right here. I'm actually adhering this to the back side of one of the sides of my Project Life spreads. You'll see that a little bit more clearly when we do the flip through at the end. But that's generally where I start, is in adhering those back to back. On top of this photo, I'm going to be adding the 2 circle chipboard pieces, one that says Finding Beauty in These January Moments, and the other one that says This Story, A Few Details. In the center of that, I punched out the circle out of one of these 6x4 journaling cards that says Celebrate. And I wrote down in the bottom section of that circle a little introductory statement for the new year, saying the start of a new year is always something worth celebrating and blah, 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 so on and so forth. I'm pairing this with a page protector that has 4 divided spots to include 4 3x4 cards or photos. I chose one of the photos that was just a picture of Aaron and Jonah to go into one of those slots, and then a picture that was just me and my daughter Izzy in the other pocket. So those are diagonal from each other. In the opposing pockets, I have the 2023 journaling card. It's just a filler card from the January Stories by the Month kit. I'm not going to add anything extra to that. And then I have another card that says Story, Story, Story. I actually chose to use that card to write a little tiny introduction to each of our family members, which I'm going to read out loud right now while I begin working on this 3rd layout. I said, Crystal,
currently 35 years old and loving my crafty business, telling all the stories. Aaron, currently 33 years old and working as a system admin, loving video gaming. Isabella, currently in 2nd grade and turning 8 years old, loves purple and Legos and cats. Jonah, currently 4 years old, in preschool and still in love with all things Mario. So just little tiny facts, our ages, our jobs, or the grade that we're currently in for school, and then one thing or two things or three things that we are loving. Moving on to this third layout that I've been working on here, I have yet another family photo that I took of us. This was using a prompt from a 52-week photo prompts that I'm trying to do this year. And this one, the prompt was actually family. So I set up my phone on a tripod and took a picture of all of us just lounging on the couch, which includes myself, my husband, the 2 kids, and one of our 3 cats. This was during a day that we were sitting around playing video games together, and so I chose to talk about that aspect of our life right now, the games that we're playing, why we're playing games as a family, those types of things. And I included that journaling in the card that will say January 3 things. And I just kind of tell 3 portions of the story of playing video games together, what one we're playing, and the purpose behind why we chose to play that specific game as a family. Then I'm taking 3 more of the circled chipboard pieces included in the January Stories by the Month kit, and I actually chopped them directly in half. Then I adhered the top portion of each of those circles to a full circle, which has journaling on the bottom half. So the top half was blank and it allowed me just to have a space to stick the stuff down. And then the bottom half has words. On top of those chipboard pieces, I added the vellum floral elements, which I also chopped in half, so they would have that same line of separation between the decoration and the text. And I used those to write 3 about here statements, or around here. So I said, around here, we are spending our weekends relaxing, enjoying some downtime after the busy holidays. Around here, we've started playing the original Kingdom Hearts game as a family, each taking turns to play. Around here, the sun has finally decided to make an appearance, which has tremendously lifted our spirits. So just a couple of tiny things that were currently happening in that moment on the week when we were playing games as a family on the couch. The last layout that you're going to see come together today is one that you will see repeated each and every month. When I opened up the Stories by the Month kit this year and found out that there's a 3x8, it's a little bit bigger than a 3x8, but a 3x8 card that has the month at the top and it's blank below that. I knew I wanted to use that as a repeat element for each of the months. So what I'm going to do is add some journaling pieces, 8 in total, you can see it here, where I'm date stamping above it. So these are 8 dates that I chose to just write a little piece of the story from that particular day. Then I want this to flip open, and on the back side it will have a grid of 8 photos that correlate to the 8 sentiments or the 8 statements that I made on that January card. Next to that will be a thankful journaling. I used a stamp that said "so thankful" and I cut off the word so it just says thankful, stamped that at the top, stamped out the numbers 01 through 05, and wrote 5 things that I was thankful for in the month of January, and paired that with a photo next to it, which you'll see come together here in just a second. I will go ahead and read out the 8 things that I wrote for January, though. I said, on January 4th, Aaron worked so hard to get the kids' bathroom fixed up, including cleaning under the gross toilet. On the 5th of January, new haircuts for both of the kids. Izzy went with a mermaid teal color and Jonah got a surfer dude cut. On the 6th of January, Aaron took Jonah to Legoland for a day. It was his first time being there since Izzy was a toddler. On the 7th, we hosted Izzy's first birthday party in years. She turned 8 this year and had so much fun with friends. On the 9th, the kids took their first ever bath in their own bathroom. So excited to have our master bath back. On the 18th, I wrote, the first snow of the winter season finally came, and the kids had 2 snow days in a row. On the 23rd, Jonah broke his arm when he missed his beanbag after jumping off the stairs. What an adventure this was. And on the 29th, almost completed a full bedroom makeover for Izzy. She is now upgraded to a queen-sized bed. And so this kind of shows how this flip through is going to work. I will add an Avery tab to the bottom to make it a little bit easier to open and close that window. When it's open, those 8 pictures go along with the 8 things that I just read out loud. And then I'm going to go through my stash and find some embellishments to add just as finishing touches on this page. For my gratitudes this month, I did also go through my daily journal, which is something I fill out every day at the end of the day, and chose a couple of things from there to talk about as gratitudes for myself. So I talked about Aaron, my husband, taking the first week of the year off and how that allowed us to get a bunch of projects done around the house, being back to a regular schedule again after the crazy holidays. Thankful for Izzy turning 8 and having another year around the sun with her. Thankful for some lazy playtime, which again, I referenced the video gaming and that sort of stuff because it has felt really lazy and also really good. And then the last thing was being thankful for my mom, who always lends a listening ear to me when I am in need of someone to just offload the stress of life to, and how much I appreciate that about her. And I just have a lot of gratitude for her. I will ultimately choose a small circle chipboard that says January Moments. That's from last year's January Stories by the Month kit, and then call that good and decide not to add anything to the larger picture of Izzy and myself. Then I'm adhering this back to back with the story that goes before it. We will hole punch it, get it into the album, and then that is going to really complete all of my January pages. So excited to flip through this and show you how everything came together. So let's go ahead and get to that.
All right, friends, with that, I now have all of my January pages completed. So this album, if you haven't heard me talk about my yearbook before, is a new concept for me this year, where I am combining my previous project lifestyle documenting and my previous story album style documenting into one album. So I have a flow that I am following throughout the course of the month. I start with a title page and a divider, and then I have a Project Life 6x8 layout, followed by 1 or 2 deeper stories, and then the next Project Life layout, and then another 1 or 2 deeper stories. So here is how the month of January turned out. I started the album with the vellum that came inside of the January Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards. It says it's a brand new year. Let's write a new chapter. And I also put this acrylic 2023 on the inside of my cover. Next, we start with the monthly divider. These dividers came from the album. It actually is this exact album inside of the Ali Edwards Design Inc. store, and was originally intended for one little word. So I'm using one set of the dividers for this album to separate each of the months in the year. So here's the January one, and then we flow into my January title page, which will likely be something very similar to this each and every month, where it's one of my favorite family photos or a favorite photo from that month with some kind of light embellishment on it. So this one, I've got this kind of porch selfie of our family with the Hello 2023 chipboard piece here at the bottom, again from the January Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards. Then we get into the very first week of Project Life. These are templates that I created myself, where some of them I took inspiration from the 9x12 Project Life pocket pages. Some of them I took inspiration from the Mochi Things scrap notebook, and some of them I just completely came up with on my own. I have 8 templates currently that are packaged together inside of my Etsy shop. So if you're looking for a way to document your project life in a smaller scale, this is perhaps an idea for you. I do have plans of creating additional templates in different sizes. I just haven't gotten around to that yet, but I'm hoping to get a true 6x8 size in the shop. This one is technically 7 by 8.25, so that it goes outside of the page protector, but I know that not everybody likes to work outside of the page protector. So I'm hoping to do a 6x8, a 10x8, and perhaps a 9x12 as well. For now, all I have is this size, the 7 by 8.25. This first week of Project Life, I used the January Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards, along with some of the products that I just had in my stash, like this card right here. I'm cutting the cards down. Some things I'm fussy cutting out. Some things I'm trimming to fit into the boxes to utilize the supplies that I'm getting in their physical form, but adding them on top of this template so that it gives me that look that I'm going for. For the text that you see on the page, I am printing my text onto matte sticker paper, matte clear sticker paper. So I'm able to type it out, cut it out, and then just stick it down on top of my pre-printed templates, and then embellishing and adding photos as we go. One of the awesome things about working with a template like this is that you can print it so that you've got the copies, such as these right here. I just have a whole book of my pre-printed templates that I can come in and grab them out of here to work on as my base. And then I also have it as a Photoshop file. And I can use that Photoshop file to clip my photos into the boxes and then print my photos in the exact sizes that I need. It takes away a little bit of the work of having to measure and cut things down. I do still have to do that with the physical journaling cards. If I was using purely digital products, then I could do the same thing with those, just add them into the squares and print those off so that they're already in there. I just want to use my physical products, and I like the texture and the dimension that the page gives off when you have all of those different layers on the page. Oh, another question that I will likely get here is what kind of paper I am printing these template pages on. I had them printed at a local UPS store in town, and I chose the 28-pound copy paper selection. That was the in-between, so there was the regular, I believe, 20-pound copy paper, and then there was cardstock, and then in between that was the 28-pound. I chose the 28 because I knew I would be adhering these pages back to back with the photos that come before it or the pages that come after, and that would give it enough stability that it can be in the album and I don't have to worry about the pages ripping. If I was not doing that, I probably would have printed them on cardstock, but the 28-pound paper is significantly cheaper than cardstock, so that was the option that I went with. Okay, so we have this first week of Project Life where I'm touching on some of the stories. Some of them are bigger and some of them are smaller throughout here, but I'm just getting little snippets of the story into my layout. So then we flow into my two deeper stories. This first one, I'm talking about starting off the new year and some of the goals that we set for our family for 2023. This again using the January Stories by the Month, and you saw this one come together earlier in the video today. And then the next one is a story about hosting our daughter's very first friend-only birthday party in January. She turned 8 at the beginning of January, and this was the first birthday party she's had in years. For this one, I used the Delight Story Kit from Ali Edwards, and I actually created this one live over in the Craft the Story Facebook group. I'll be sure to link that Facebook group in the description box down below in case you want to join the group as a member, and then I do live crafting sessions every other Thursday inside of that group. So here's this one. One of the fun things about this, and this was not one of those template pages I created for Project Life. This was just one that I came up with because I wanted to be able to include the pockets here, and I wanted a lot more photos. So this was something totally separate. But one thing that I love is having the ability to have some interactivity on the page, still keeping the bulk to as much of a minimum as I can. I want some dimension because I like the way that it looks. I like the way that it feels, but I also don't want to go too crazy because I'm hoping to get I'm really hoping to get 4 months in this album, but most likely I'm probably going to be able to only get 3. We'll see, but I definitely want to at least get 3. So that means doing my best to cut down on the bulk as much as I can, which again was part of the reason I chose that 28-pound copy paper. And here we are again with Project Life week number 2, is because that paper is a lot thinner. So it's going to prevent bulking up of my album as quickly as if it had been cardstock, right? Okay, so for this one, I'm using the open story kit from Ali Edwards. The fun thing about this layout is I created this little tiny pocket that holds these slips. I bought some different plants for the house and kept the tags that came in them, and then just cut those down and put them in here like little tiny tags, and I think that's really fun. Again, telling some of those smaller stories that happened throughout the month. Some of the stories that I'm telling in the journaling are not actually pictured. I have a daily journal that I fill out every single night. So when I go to do my weekly spreads, I pull that journal out and read through all of my writing to see if there's anything that I want to include in my storytelling that may not actually be included in the visual photos that I have to use for the week. Next, I've got the 2 deeper dive stories. This first one is talking about things that we are currently doing. So 3 things from January. I talked about playing video games. I talked about playing games as a family and introducing the kids to Disney characters. I talked about, a little bit more about, we're playing right now Kingdom Hearts. So I talked about that a little bit here. And then just little tiny snippets of around here we are, ... around here we've started, ... and so on. So just a fun way to tell a little bit more context about life right now. And then this was the week that I did a very big organization destash project in my studio, and I documented some of that process here. This was another one that I did, this I did for Story Kit Crush, which is an Instagram challenge that you can join in at any time. It's taking older kits and telling stories and trying to crush those kits. We were working on the theme of action during the month of January. And so this was the layout that I told using those products. Just so happened to be perfect for the main event, right, of that week. Next, we've got week 3, Project Life. This one, I am using just a bunch of stuff from my stash. I loved using this one in the middle, totally serendipitous that it fit right here in the middle, telling a little bit more story about going to the zoo this week. And then really that's pretty much it for this one. So same with the journaling cards. I've got the stamp that I chose was the unexpected story stamp because my son did a flying leap off of the stairs and broke his arm, and that was definitely unexpected. So that really helped to dictate what types of prompts that I wanted to use for my journaling this week. For the deeper dive stories this week, I'm going a little bit more in depth and telling some more of the zoo story. We went to the zoo with our friends for a play date this week. I used the label stamp from Ali Edwards and I masked it in order to create a 2-tone journaling block, and then used the awesome story stamp as my titles and wrote in like a Sharpie pen underneath my journaling, just 6 different pieces of the story of going to the zoo together. I love grid layouts, which is probably very apparent as we are flipping through this album. The second deeper dive story is about my son and his broken arm. So I touched on it here. I had a couple of pictures from taking him to the emergency room. I had a little bit of the story, just very general. He broke his arm, he jumped off the stairs, This one, I'm telling a lot more of that story. So the lead up to how he broke his arm, going to the emergency room, what that was like, how the kids behaved, what we did in that moment to help alleviate the pain or, you know, make sure that he was going to be okay. So just all of that type of story in here. This one I'm using the whole story stamp for my title pieces. And then I let the photo really do the talking for this one. I cut this all apart so that it looks like a broken page, since we're talking about a broken arm. And I just love that super graphic look. This story and the one before it right here were both layouts that I put together over in that Craft the Story Facebook group live. Again, I'll put that link down below. And then for week number 4, I am using, again, a bunch of stash. For the stamp that is determining all of my journaling prompts, I use the ampersand story stamp. One of my favorite things about working with these types of layouts for Project Life is rather than primarily using the story kits or the stories by the month kits and then putting my stamps away, this is helping me to put my stamps first. So oftentimes when I am looking through the photos from the past week, I will ask myself, you know, what is the theme that's sticking out here? If there's not a theme, then I'll go looking through my story stamps for what are some more generic types of prompts that I can use. And the ampersand was great for that because we have this and that currently. Here's the story, more of the story. I mean, these were all really generic titles that I could use to tell any old story I wanted to. For this one, we've got Jonah getting his cast on. We went to a local cookie store afterwards. I did a makeover of my kids' rooms. I took a bath in my own bath for the first time since we've moved into this house. Some new plants that I got. So just, again, small stories that make up the bigger picture of what this week looked like. For the deeper dive stories, these are both layouts that I created for a classroom. So you would have to go to the Inspiration by the Month classroom over on the Allie Edwards website in order to access the process videos for these layouts. The first one is a story about our cat King Boo and just some little details about him. And then the second story here is just a bunch of currentlys. So currently watching, currently reading, currently listening, currently loving, and so on and so forth. And then we finish off the month with this recap page, which we just did today. So I'm using these monthly 3x8 journaling cards to recap about 8 different things that happened throughout the month. So I date stamped them. I added in the text. So like Aaron worked hard to clean up the kids' bathroom to get it nice and fixed up, including cleaning under the toilet. New haircuts for both of the kids. Izzy went with mermaid teal and Jonah got a surfer dude cut. So just little snippets that, again, you could totally see as you flip through the book, but you could also just come right back to this page and get a glimpse at what happened in the month. And then when you open it up, I have my 5 things that I'm thankful for and my grid. The grid photos directly relate to the 8 things that I stamped and wrote about here. And then just one last photo to finish off the month. And then we will go into the month of February. So that is essentially what my yearbook is going to look like. I am loving documenting the stories that are happening throughout our month in the moment. So this week right now is week number 6. And as I'm living out week number 6, I am also thinking, you know, what are the different stories that I could tell about this week? What are some things that, or a deeper story that I want to tell? What's happening for my daughter this week? What's happening for my son this week? What are we working on in our house? I'm not feeling very well, right? Because my voice is all gravelly. And that could be a story even of not feeling good and pushing through and what I'm doing to help take care of myself, maybe a self-care type of layout. But just really keeping my thumb on the pulse of what's happening in our lives right now. And it's helping me to be very intentional, to be very aware, and to be very present in my life as we are moving through the days. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this little flip through. Next month, I'm going to be back again. We'll do some process videos we'll do a process video that includes a couple layouts for the month of February. And then we'll do this again. We'll flip through the whole month of February so you can see how the whole thing flows together. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I know this was a lot of information and a lot to go through. I know I really love how this whole project is coming together, and I hope that it inspires you to think about how you can stay in tune with what's happening in your life and documenting those stories as they are happening, to be intentional about your storytelling and to be intentional about your life. Until next time, friends, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. If you enjoyed this video, I forget to say this every time. I need to get better at this. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a thumbs up down below. It does really significantly help my channel, and it lets me know that you enjoy this kind of content and to keep on creating it. So thumbs up down below, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and until next time, have a great rest of your week and weekend ahead. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.